Well, I think that the numbers and the statistics in Weslaco speak for themselves. We're a very data-driven organization, like most EDCs have to be. You need data information to be able to present to promote your city. So when I can take a flyer that has 46 brands, some local, some mom and pops, but a lot of them national brands that have selected Weslaco in the last 3 years, to them, that's like eye-opening. And the easiest thing for me to say is, where's your brand? And your brand could be next. So to have 46 different companies choose Weslaco in the last 3 years that are retail related and some industrial, of course, really catch the attention of companies.
Steve Valdez, you are the president and CEO of the Weslaco Economic Development Corporation. A lot of things happening in the Mid-Valley, from retail to industrial. What is the most exciting part about Weslaco right now, in your opinion?
Well, Mark, thanks for having me. Appreciate you having me on your podcast. I think the best part about what's happening in Weslaco is there's even distribution of growth. I think most EDCs, most communities, whether here in the Valley or in the state, try to accomplish even development. So we've got residential growth that's growing, we've got retail growth, and we've got industrial growth, and we're able to share information and knowledge on how we track that data to prove that kind of growth. So we've been able to do a successful job, at least in the last 3 or 4 years, to see both sectors growing at the same time.
Yeah, every time that I cross through Weslaco, it's amazing, like the amount of retail. I mean, the retail corridor alone has grown tremendously. It's very rare that you see a city south of the expressway go more than a mile where you see major retail, and you all have a Walmart, you have a new Starbucks coming up. And then on the residential front, I mean, I don't know how many, there's a lot of fourplex developments, multifamily developments, right, single-family developments, rooftops, which supports the retail.
Right.
But the most interesting component is industrial for you guys. You all have an industrial park that you all have led the charge on that. Talk to us about that.
So we ran out of space in our existing industrial park. That park was probably in upwards of about 300 acres of property.
And you ran out.
And we ran out of space. I mean, that's an older park. That park has been there probably for 30, 40 years. And so the fact that there's few parcels left incited our EDC board of directors to encourage us as staff to go out and look for more space. And so fortunately for us, we found a 150-acre tract within a mile, right off of 1015, 2 minutes to the expressway from there. And so we purchased the land. We developed it. We over-engineered, over-structured it. So we've got 55-foot wide concrete roads, 2 lanes, oversized infrastructure, the water, the sewer, the ability to have fiber optic cable. It's all there. We were fortunate enough to as we divided up the properties, we kept 8 acres that were off of 1015, and we made those commercial. And those sold fast. So they sold at market value. So that indicates that Weslaco is going to continue growing north. The other lots in the back, we were able to acquisition glaziers. They are now operating in full swing there at the industrial park. And we're so excited to have them there. They brought 200 jobs. They liked the idea that they could get in their trucks, hit the expressway, and go in each direction almost equally to Rio Grande City and Roma, all the way to South Padre Island and Brownsville. So that development that ended up falling on our laps, and we were really excited that it's worked out for us well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they're a big first anchor. And I mean, I don't want to say it out loud, but they relocated from McAllen, right?
They did, yeah.
And so I think that for a company like that is focused on strategically serving the region, they're saying Weslaco is the best place to do it from.
That's right.
And so, there's more industrial space there. And I think that there's probably going to be other companies that follow. And I'm sure you know about some companies that you have down the pipeline. I'd love to hear about them. How much space do you have left at this new industrial park?
We've got we started out with about 150 acres, as I mentioned. But by the time you put your roads in and your your drainage and detention ponds. We ended up with about 122 buildable acres. After Glacier took 25, we're down to about 80 to 90. We also sold 10 acres to UPS. So UPS is another partner there. They bought 10 acres. They are another strategic partner for us as well. So we have roughly about 80 acres once those 2 lots had been taken. We're talking to 3 prospects that are they're always at different stages of the process. Some are soft leads, some are strong leads, but we've got about 3 or 4 on the pipe, as you mentioned, on the pipeline that we're talking that are interested. And mainly it's because we're strategically located right in the middle of the valley. And so that's been a real big help.
There's 2 ways to look at it. So you're strategically located from west to east, right? Along Interstate 2 in the center of the valley, very accessible to go either direction. Going south, though, towards Mexico, the city of Weslaco does not have an international bridge, but you have 2 international bridges that I know that you all have been focused on partnering with, how you can work together. These bridges don't have probably the industrial parks that you all have, and there's definitely some strategic partnerships to work there. The Progreso International Bridge and the Donna International Bridge.
Right.
Why are they important to the industrial parks in Weslaco?
Well, fortunately, both have commercial access, so you can bring trucks over. Progreso Bridge primarily handles grains, sorghums, soybeans, and a lot of their shipping comes across. It stays close by. There's some real fun and exciting, a smaller industrial park going up there as well, and land available as well. And so it doesn't have to go too far away from the bridge itself before the trucks turn around and go back across. Donna just started accepting, from what I understand, empties going southbound. And so once they start opening opportunities for trucks to come northbound, then that's going to affect all of us. Mercedes, Donna, Weslaco, we're all going to benefit from that kind of traffic. And so as we started developing our industrial park, that's one of the first things that we reached out to was both Progreso and Donna to see how we could merge and how we could talk about planning this together at the same time. So I think with Donna just recently announcing that they're going commercial southbound, it's just going to start opening up from there.
It was very smart to start on the industrial parks early, right? I think you all have some advantages over the other cities because you've already started the process. I think the city of Mercedes, they could take notes on what you all are doing to benefit from that traffic.
Of course, and we're so close to each other, so closely connected. There's always conversations happening between both cities. I think we've gone to the EDC and Mercedes a few times. We've communicated together. They've reached out to us for projects, and the same thing, mainly with the bridge and Donna. I think about 6 months ago we went out to visit just to see how progress was coming. So, and we've also reached out to Progreso and Rio Bravo just to try to maintain those relationships as well. I mean, it's all about strategic relationships that we have that we call ourselves the Mid-Valley, and it's creating those relationships with those partners.
So let's talk about filling up the rest of the industrial park. So recently, Governor Abbott did take he went on a trade mission trip, and a lot of Texas was represented in that trip to Asia, but the Rio Grande Valley was not. Do you think the RGV should have been present on that trade mission trip?
I think so, very much so. I mean, they talk about the Texas Triangle, and I give credit to one of my staff members that said we should turn it into the Texas Diamond and extend down to the valley to incorporate Corpus Christi so that we can all be together with that same concept. We talk about, or we hear a lot about nearshoring and about the jobs that are coming from China to Mexico because of the labor cost. And so it makes a lot of sense for us to have strategic partners with Mexico as well. We're going to Monterrey in a couple of weeks to do some business up there as well and to do some more recruiting. But that's getting even more and more exciting to see what's happening in Mexico and how it's going to relate and cross over to us here in the Valley. But yeah, I think we should have been a part of that trip.
So were you all invited?
No, we were not.
Yeah, it's a discussion. We talked with Daniel Silva from the RGV Partnership, other leaders, and the mayor of McAllen said, hey, we were invited, but we decided as a region, not necessarily to attend, that the governor's office, would handle those leads. Yeah. But I think that the overall sentiment is that the RGV, Rioplex, whatever we call ourselves, should have a seat at the table in trying to attract these big manufacturers. Maybe the governor's office will listen to this podcast and send us an invite next year.
Well, we love the leads that we get from the governor's office. I mean, I think we get 2 or 3 a week, and the response time for us is automatic. I mean, we've got the system down well enough that we love that they send us leads as often as they do. For whatever reason, it may have also been that I just didn't receive the email invitation because we get super busy.
Well, but I think there's clarification that needs to be made whether the region was invited. But I know that the Texas economic development efforts from the governor's office, they're very aggressive, and everyone wants to come to Texas. So it's more about finding what part of Texas best suits your needs. And I think South Texas solves a lot of big industries' problems. You have people like Elon Musk that just made an announcement. You know what? I'm taking everything, all the corporate. We're going to the Rio Grande Valley. When you hear announcements like that triggers companies from all over the world. Wait, where is this place? So I mentioned Rioplex. Obviously, you're part of the Hidalgo County Prosperity Task Force. This new branding campaign of including Northern Tamaulipas and the 4 counties, the Rio Grande Valley, calling it the Rioplex. What is your opinion on it?
Well, unfortunately, in my case, I've not been able to attend some of the meetings to really get down into the weeds. I've read a couple of articles of what I see and what I hear. The concept is genuine, and it's very wise for us to consider ourselves as a region. The city of Weslaco is small enough that we cannot go outside of our area and recruit without mentioning the region. So we're doing that in a lot of ways already. Now, to do it with a brand behind it, that makes a lot of sense. We just haven't had a chance to really understand it completely to determine how we're going to incorporate it in Weslaco. I applaud the idea, though.
Yeah, and I think you're not the only one. People are having a lot of questions. Okay, so is this name Rioplex going to replace the name of the Rio Grande Valley? And the answer is no. It's a branding campaign to define a new geographic area. This is how it's been explained to us. And the new geographic area is an economy that is already in motion, already existing, and is our secret sauce, right? We just have never defined it. And when you say Rioplex and you start, spitting out the facts of, the population, 3.5 million people, 14 international bridges, it's one of the biggest economies, in the world, when you look at it from that standpoint. But most people think that Rioplex is going to replace, it's either the name RGV or COSTEP and the RGV partnership. So we've been clarifying, to the best of our ability, hey, this is what it is. Knowing that it's a branding campaign, it would be, if you went, like, let's say on your next trip to Monterrey, you would say, I'm from Weslaco, I'm part of the Rioplex region. That's the name, that's the branding, that's how it would work. And the Rioplex initiative wants to provide branding material to show what the geographic area is. And so I think if you have an organization doing that for the region that each city, each economic development corporation can use, I think it's pretty beneficial, don't you?
I think so, and I would even go so far as to say I'd reverse it. We're from the Rioplex region, and we have our small place in Weslaco.
Yeah,
that works for us right now. When we say we're from El Valle, when we go across, and we have to start identifying cities that are within our region. So we go. Are you familiar with McAllen, Brownsville, Harlingen? and then we weed our way down to Weslaco. I call ourselves, depending on whether you're a half empty or half full, we're the largest small city in the region, but we're the fifth largest city in Hidalgo County, the eighth in the valley, and so we're right in between that. We have all of the resources that we would need to have to be considered a large city, but we can't go without mentioning other larger cities around us, or at least very much so the region of South Texas.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of the region's leadership has acknowledged that, people that work in your city don't have to live in your city, and people that live in your city don't necessarily have to work in your city.
Right.
And we can still be successful if someone lives in Weslaco but works in McAllen, or lives in McAllen and works in Weslaco. The job multiplier effect, the economic impact, it's still beneficial for all of us.
Oh yeah. When we talk about recruiting companies, and they say, "Well, what's the size of your city?" I say, "We're just under 50,000." And right away, when you're trying to employ 200 to 300 people, they think the workforce is minimal.
Yes.
So we say within a 30-mile radius and a 30-minute drive, we're over 1 million.
Yeah.
And so that number, when that number is put on the table, it's an eye opener.
So Monterrey, you're going on there's a conference happening in Monterrey?
Yeah, this is the second year this organization, this university in Monterrey has been putting together, and they call it Café con United States and Canada.
Oh.
And so it's the second time. I think last year Brownsville, Edinburgh, and ourselves in Weslaco were there. UTRGV also has a presence, and so we drive up together. We stay for a day and a half or so and come right back. It was, to me, to see the city of Monterrey was really eye-opening. It's so progressive, so modern, and to see the interest that so many businesses had in understanding our region and coming to South Texas and having conversations. We had a small booth, and as soon as the opening presentations were done, a line formed in front of all of us, Edinburgh, ourselves, Brownsville, a lot of people coming to talk to us about growing their product and their brands here in South Texas.
I hear, Judge Richard Cortez, he pointed this out to me years ago, and it's something that I never forgot. He said, "Mark, you could take an hour flight and go to Monterrey, and Monterrey is bigger than Los Angeles. You could take an hour flight and go to the city of Mexico, and the city of Mexico is bigger than New York City." So you have that large population that already historically travels to the Rio Grande Valley, shops, invests, has family. And then there's a huge new population in those cities that is just learning about what South Texas is. And it's very exciting because the momentum is on our side. There's so many angles that you could say, okay, well, the Rio Grande Valley is going to grow because of our young age, right? The young average age, which I think it's 29 years old. We're going to grow because we have a medical school and a research component. We're going to grow because we have international trade. I mean, we just keep getting stronger and stronger. When you are out pitching Weslaco, what is the first thing that you tell people about? Like, how do you catch people's attention?
Well, it always depends on where we're at. But I think the thing that catches people's attention is when we talk about our culture, we talk about our people, our work ethics, and the Hispanic population. We talk about our lower cost of living. We talk about how we have the best of both worlds. You mentioned earlier, you get the shoppers that come from south, they travel north, and then we get our winter Texans that travel north heading south. And so our economy is very different than what we've seen in the rest of the nation. When you see shortages and issues happening outside the United States, if it ever trickles down here, it takes a while because we've got both components coming in from the south going north and from the north going south. But more than anything, I like to talk about our culture, about how we have such close proximity to resort cities like South Padre Island. We've got proximity to Mexico, and so we really get to taste both cultures within, like you say, just a few miles from us.
And I think having a bilingual population, and when the Hispanic population is the fastest growing population in Texas, I think there's a lot of companies that are going to look for a bilingual population, and South Texas has plenty of that, right?
That's right.
ICSC retail. Let's jump to that subject. So you all have a very big focus on industrial. You're focusing on the industrial parks, but you're also probably at the same level focusing really hard on retail, and it's justifiable. ICSC is a retail convention that happens in every state in Texas. They have one at the state level, which you all attend, and it's very well attended by your leadership, by your team. And there's also a conference, the national conference in Las Vegas. That's the one everyone wants to go to, right? And you also attended that. This last year, it was very different because the RGV partnership put together a booth. You all participated. Talk to us about your retail journey and why these conferences are important.
Well, I think that the numbers and the statistics in Weslaco speak for themselves. We're a very data-driven organization, like most EDCs have to be. You need data information to be able to present, to promote your city. So when I can take a flyer that has 46 brands, some local, some mom and pops, but a lot of them national brands that have selected Weslaco in the last 3 years, to them, that's like eye-opening. And the easiest thing for me to say is, where's your brand? And it's your brand could be next. So to have 46 different companies choose Weslaco in the last 3 years that are retail related, and some industrial, of course, really, really catch the attention of companies. They all know how to do their own research. So they know that the valley in itself is growing, the fastest growing. If they know their brands and their stores, they're already checking their own market. And when they continue to see the region of South Texas doing so well within their own industries, they start seeing, well, how much more can we expand? If they're already in McAllen and they're maybe in Brownsville, then they start making their way towards the middle. What's happening more and more lately is that you're finding your first in regions stores primarily where the largest population is, which is McAllen, Edinburgh, Mission, Far. Once they've established themselves there, it used to be that they'd travel to Brownsville and say, well, let's make our way towards the middle. But now they're starting to see the numbers in Weslaco and start in Weslaco and then move over to Harlingen and then Brownsville. We've had, out of those 46 brands, about 5 or 6 of them decided to start first in this area of McAllen area and then start looking at Weslaco. And so we've been the benefiting factor on watching that trend grow.
So those 46 brands that have entered the market in the last 3 years, I'm sure you keep up with them after they open. I know Texas Roadhouse, when they opened, I saw the line. I think people lined up a long time before it opened. Are they hitting their goals in sales, in activity?
I think a lot of them are. I mean, a lot of times we have a great Chamber of Commerce, and a lot of them become members of the Chamber of Commerce and do their grand openings and their ribbon cuttings with the Chamber. And each time that we hear from the Chamber or from the owners of the company, they always love how we put on a great party for their grand opening. We get a lot of people. Our Red Coat ambassadors come. Our crowns that are Mr. and Mrs. Weslaco come. And then, of course, the business community comes to support the event. And then the follow-ups after that, when we go back to enjoy whatever product they have, whether restaurants or otherwise, we always ask. We do these business retention and expansion visits, the BRE visits, and we always like to ask, well, how's it going since you opened? And we love to continue hearing that same trend. We love Weslaco. The hospitality of your community is different. The amount of, we're making money, we're profiting, and we're amongst the top sellers in all the other locations that we have in the region. We continue to hear that, and that's really exciting for us, having recruited them to Weslaco or having them chosen us because of our numbers.
And it's just exciting to see, because every time one of those businesses is successful, it's just a case study for the next company to come over, right? Recently in the talks of the region and how we should put our efforts together in recruiting big industry to make the biggest impact, one thing that multiple people have said, Ron Garza, specifically from UTRGV, he mentioned that we probably shouldn't be giving incentives to retail as much as we should to bigger industry that's going to provide jobs paying $25 or more an hour. And so for a lot of small cities, that their strategy has been retail to increase their retail sales tax, hotel occupancy tax. Well, how do you counter that, a statement like that for, EDCs? Hey, don't go after retail anymore. How do you respond to that?
We've been fortunate that a lot of retail has come to Weslaco without the request for an incentive. They've come on their own, and in a lot of cases, the few that do come out and ask for an incentive, we like to consider them maybe not equal to the industrialized companies that are paying more per hour, that are paying full-time jobs and benefits. But I can say that we're going to incentivize the way we think is best for our community. It's hard for me right now to say whether we do more for industrialized companies than we do retail. We did a great deal for Glaziers to come to Weslaco. That was a major deal. We've got another retailer on the hook right now that we're talking about some similar type of incentives. We don't really. We're a small enough community that we don't really get to pick quite yet. And maybe that's what Ron means, is for the larger cities that don't have to recruit these companies, we're not quite there yet.
Yeah.
We have to spend our money to get them to look our way.
Yeah, and I think bigger cities, like Brownsville, McAllen, I think their city halls are kind of in that they're like, yeah, we don't have to recruit. They come to us because of just where we are. I think that when EDCs give incentives, it's always performance based in some way, shape, or form. And every incentive that you give, it's performance based, meaning the city is going to make money through the retail sales tax. Like, this is going to be paid for. Al Fresco. Right. Let's talk about this fun community event. You guys have a monthly night out. Talk to us a little bit about the history and why people should attend.
We've been doing Al Fresco for a little over 10 years. And just recently, we've been able to acquire some great staff that have grown the event to where it is today. I think when I started back in 2016, we had maybe 25 to 30 vendors at the time. We're now busting at the seams with about 140 vendors that come out each night.
Wow.
And so the vendor pool that we get is really what's attracting so many people, because we do 7 months out of the year. The third Thursday of every month we do Al Fresco. We have live performances, live bands. We get the schools involved. We get on an average of about 8,000 visitors per event.
8,000.
8,000. We use a software solution that allows us to count, at least track phones to tell us how many people show, and they actually stay for about 90 minutes on an average. So
wow,
about 8,000 people show up every single time. Like I mentioned, we've got 130 vendors. We only have space for 130 vendors, but we get 400 applicants that come in that want to participate. And so in order for our staff, Michelle in particular, has got to use her magic wand and say, okay, we need more of this vendor or more of that, but we need a circulation of a different type of vendor so that every Al Fresco is unique in the kind of vendors that show up. So, of course, we have our food vendors. We have our craft vendors, our art vendors. A lot of our downtown businesses stay open. A lot of our downtown business owners tell us that that's the best night
that they have
for each month is Al Fresco. And so we really do it to benefit our downtown vendors, our downtown businesses, because eventually we hope like we saw in Teddy's Barbecue, who started at al fresco many years ago out of a tent, and now eventually move into brick and mortar. So that's really the intent of al fresco, and it's been working great for us.
So a lot of cities in the Rio Grande Valley, they're struggling with their downtown areas, right? I think most cities in America are struggling with their downtown areas. What do we do with these buildings? They're either no parking or old buildings, or the properties are overpriced. So has this community event helped kind of wake up the downtown business district?
Yes, in a great way, in a large way. When I started in 2016 with the EDC, we had between 12 and 15 vacant stores within a 3-block radius. Now there's 2, and they're the larger stores. Sadly, Wells of Weslaco closed, and they're probably about 8,000 square feet. And so for the smaller mom and pops, that's too big of a footprint to try to fill.
And not enough parking. But we're trying to get our people to think of downtown as a walking culture, that you're going to park a block or 2 away before you get to the store, and it's okay. I know it's hot, but we'll count our steps on our phones and so forth. But we've been real successful in downtown. We've seen some real exciting businesses. We actually now have a nightlife. So if you come out on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you have several locations to pick from to go and visit and eat and drink a little bit and enjoy your entertainment with your friends. Weslaco has a nightlife.
We do. That's right.
Talk to us about some of the new retail projects along on the expressway. I know there is some construction happening on the north side, right next door to the Lowe's, and then south side next to Texas Roadhouse. And then you have some more plazas next to Milano Road. Right. I think that's the biggest groundbreaking that was recently announced.
So the two plazas that I can talk, the one on North Bridge, that one's about 95% full. WSS Shoes was the last company to come in. They're supposed to be up and running by August. So once WSS Shoes comes into that plaza, it's going to be completely full. There's a corner pad site that's going to be available that we're excited to see who'll take that space. But the two that excite us as much is Palm Plaza, which is really the heart of Weslaco, and then the Midway Road, which is the one it's right at the entrance of Weslaco as you're driving east. Both of those are going to be beautiful and impressive locations. They're going to offer, hopefully we'll get another 46 brands in the next couple of years that are going to fill spaces there. The one coming in that's on Midway Road is actually an architect from Monterey. And so when you see the images that you see, it's a 2-story building that's going to have a beautiful walkway, both an elevator and an escalator, some water fountain features as well. The Palm Plaza is going to be amazing because you're taking an existing building and you're putting a brand new face and a brand new product. It's good, and it's going to match the new part that's also going in along the side that'll face the expressway. So we're having some great conversations with both companies.
So right now, earlier we talked about the residential development, the boom that you guys have been having. There's a lot of people looking in the Mid-Valley for single-family homes, rentals, specifically North Weslaco. North Weslaco, you all have more land than you know what to do with right now, right? What is this doing to the population growth of Weslaco?
Well, in the last 3 years, again, we've been tracking the growth by way of plotting through dots the growth that we see in Weslaco. And so far, within the last 3 years, for a community our size to have 6,770 permits for single-family and multifamily housing, we think that's impressive. We have not seen that kind of growth in our Mid-Valley city of Weslaco in a long time. And you pointed it out before, the proximity to anywhere is close. When you're in the middle, you can work somewhere and live in Weslaco or the opposite.
Yeah,
we're finding that our mobile community is really helping the city grow. We've got our own identity to a certain degree, the Mid-Valley. We used to have a mayor back in the 80s that used to say, we're in the middle, but not in the crunch. And that still holds true today. We don't have a lot of traffic jams as bad that you might see in other cities. It's easy to get to. Once you get off the expressway, if you go 1 mile in any direction, you're going to be out in the country, as they used to say.
Yeah.
And everything aligns with the expressway. So the proximity and accessibility is easy and an easy access.
I mean, Starbucks, after looking at the traffic patterns of the consumer patterns, said, hey, you see that? They're standing at the existing Starbucks. Hey, you see that pad site right over there on the other side of the expressway? We're going to put another one over there. I mean, you all have 2 Starbucks very close to each other, but they serve 2 different populations, one going west and one going east. I mean, basically, when Starbucks announced, I'm sure you had conversations, was your team shocked that there was going to be a new Starbucks going just on the north side of the expressway?
Not at all. And the reason for that is the first and the original Starbucks in Weslaco always has a line, and it extends into the parking lot where Hobby Lobby is and all the other stores. And so there's always a line there. So we thought we for sure need a second Starbucks, and actually have a third now. So the third is under construction on the south side of town, way back on 18th Street. And that's what we love seeing about Weslaco as well. We learned the lessons that we see in McAllen on Ware Road, on Sherry Road, on 10th Street, where a lot of the growth is happening north and south, and we're starting to identify that in Weslaco as well. The deeper that we grow with our residential growth, and as you see the plots that in our map that we've been charting, the growth is almost balanced, and so you'll be able to see more retail that are going to follow the rooftops, both north and south. So that's exciting.
So one other thing that's been very big in South Texas is basically like the nature economy. People from all over the world come to identify birds. You all have a state park in Weslaco. Talk to us about the quality of life, parks, outdoor opportunities, activities that Weslaco. I've seen a lot of new parks or existing parks kind of been painted and landscaping. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, Estero Llano Grande, that's the state park you were referring to, borders right along with us and Mercedes. So we both get to sometimes call it our own, but technically it's on the Mercedes.
For this conversation, you're going to claim it.
I'll claim it. I'll claim it. We have the Valley Nature Center that's right in the heart of Weslaco as well. The Autobahn that's also right down
Society.
Both of those locations offer, some very unique bird watching. I live in the heart of Weslaco as well, and certain times of the year you see the parrots flying, and they make a loud noise. You can hear them coming before they actually get there. I love the fact that at times they'll stop right above my tree, and I'll sit and watch, stop whatever I'm doing. But a lot of people get to enjoy that, the 3 parks that we have. And then, of course, the city's doing a great job on the city parks. Soccer fields, softball fields, baseball, softball. They're out there. They're very well taken care of. We see a lot of people using the tracks to bike ride and walk and run as well. And so if you were to go to any of our larger parks in the city of Weslaco, you'll see a healthy number of people using them and utilizing the services there.
Well, that's great to hear. Steve, is there anything else that you would like to share with the audience?
Well, I think you've touched on
we covered everything, right? When's your birthday?
October 3rd, coming up.
Well, Steve Valdez, thank you so much for your time. As always, keep up the good fight. And until next time.
Thank you so much.